Hi, it's Jitney. I hope you're having a happy and healthy week. This week, I want to share with you some life lessons that I learned from my grandma. So, before there was Kamala Harris, there was Kamala Modi. That's my paternal grandma. I never had the privilege of meeting her, but I've been regaled with her stories since I was a child. Stories of, what a phenomenal cook she was, what an amazing mother she was, and what a profound human being she was. In fact, I don't think I've ever come across anybody in the family or community that has had anything negative to say about her. To me, that's truly baffling, but that's the legacy that she's left behind. Now, the lessons that I share with you, I believe, are the ones she would have wanted me to learn from her. So I want to go ahead and tell you about them. Use what you find worthwhile. These are kind of what make up my moral compass. But more importantly, take some time to turn to your life and your ancestors and forefathers, where I guarantee you, you will find a treasure trove of inspiration. Usually we don't need to look far and wide to be stirred or to be enlightened. We don't need to turn to a celebrity or an athlete or an influencer to figure out how to live life and make the most of it. The answers to that, all of that actually are within us. Those answers that you seek are within you. And those elements are truly remnants of our forefathers and our ancestors. So just take some time, kind of sit down with yourself and think about your family, and think about your ancestors, your grandparents, your great grandparents, great uncles, great aunts, and what is it that you can take from them, even if you never had the chance to meet them, or even if you did have the chance to meet them, I'm sure there was something good, something inspiring that you can take from them. So seek that within yourself. So let's jump in. There are 5 lessons that I've learned that I want to share with you. For me, the biggest one is be my values. What I mean by that is basically, walk the talk and live your life according to the values that you proclaim to follow. So if you say you don't judge and you believe in unconditional love, then I would expect you to never badmouth anybody. I would expect you to truly try and understand all the people that you encounter instead of jumping to conclusions. I would expect you to not focus on how somebody looks, the color of their skin, their shape, their size, body type, any of that, and just try and understand the soul within. So that's what I mean by be my values. My grandma was the kind of person who welcomed everyone that came into her house. She decided that she was going to be hospitable and welcoming to anyone that showed up at her doorstep. Nobody was turned away, and everybody was well fed when they left. And again, that's the legacy that she's left behind. So the most important part for me when it comes to being my values is to always remember how I make somebody feel. Because at the end of the day, it's not about your power, your wealth, or your status. Nobody's going to remember that. Or if they do, it's going to be short term. What they're really going to take with them is how you made them feel. So be true to your values, and act upon them. The other lesson that I learned is to honor my truth. I've heard that my grandma was fearless. She had no problems setting boundaries. She came to her own conclusions. She kind of, did her own thing. And she knew how to handle all the family drama, and even then she did right by everybody. I am nowhere close to the kind of person she was. I'm not even as hospitable as she was. But what I've learned from these tales about her is if I want to show up fully in this life and I want to be happy, I have to be true to myself. I have to be authentic. And for that to happen, I have to accept myself for who I am and love myself for who I am. I used to compare myself to my cousins, friends, or, even celebrities and think, oh my God, she's so beautiful, or she has such great skin. She's so skinny. Or she's so smart. She must have so much money, all these things. And I'm doing what I need to do by being on my own journey. It's not easy to stop comparing, but that's what I've learned from my grandma is to honor my truth. And that means following my heart and always believing in myself and doing what I need to do to fulfill my dreams. The third lesson that I learned is to embody wellness. Now, my grandma was a heavier woman. She actually had a lot of health issues. She was a diabetic, and that was the cause of her demise. And the stories I've heard about her health and how she passed away, they really left an imprint on me since I was a child. And I think somewhere subconsciously that's pushed me down this path of holistic wellness. So the lesson I learned from this and from her passing is to really pay attention to your health. For me, I know I will never fully be in control of my destiny, right? I don't know what tomorrow holds for me, but today, at least, I can make the decision to eat healthy, to move my body, to take care of my mind, and to take care of my heart, to really be holistically healthy. So that means emotionally, mentally, and physically. And so when I hear about her story, that's kind of my why behind trying to live a life of purpose and a life where I make healthier decisions. Now, another lesson that I learned from her is to plan. If you're Indian, you might resonate with this. But my grandma was, pretty old school. She was the traditionalist, and she had given birth to a lot of boys, which meant weddings. And unfortunately, because she passed away so early, she wasn't able to attend all the weddings and all the family milestones. But she had planned for all of that, to welcome all the daughters-in-law into the family. She had set aside, some of her jewelry and whatever gifts she wanted to give them. She was very fair, and she wanted to make sure that every daughter-in-law got the right amount and an equal share of what she had to give. So she planned for this. She didn't necessarily know that she wasn't going to be around, but that's how her mind worked, and that's how she prepared for this. And so from that, I've learned to plan for my future. There is something very special about living in the moment, but there's also something very important about planning for your future. We can't take that for granted. I think ideally we want to strike a balance between today and tomorrow so we can make the most of this life. So how do I plan? I plan for my overall well-being. I'd rather invest in my health today. And that means, trying to take care of my body, eating nourishing foods, working out, being active. It also means, going to therapy and taking care of what I'm experiencing mentally and emotionally, having healthy coping mechanisms. So that's how I invest in myself today so that 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, whenever it is, I'd rather spend this money now than spend money paying doctor's bills or being, burden on my family or somebody else in my life. So for me, this investment today is how I plan for my future. I also plan financially. That's a big part of the lives we live. We can't live on air, water, and love. We need to be and feel financially stable. So that's how I take care of my funds, that when I'm ready to retire, or God forbid, if there's the calamity, I can take care of myself and, I still feel that I have a financial buffer. So figure out your plan. What does that look like? Of course, your health should be first and foremost, but outside of your health, what about money, or what about, an elderly loved one in your life? How do you plan for that? So whatever it is, you want to plan for your whole health, and that includes finances, that includes relationships, that includes where you live, what you do for a living, all of that. Um, and then the last lesson that I learned from her is to choose love. So, as I've mentioned before, my grandma was a phenomenal cook. Everybody raves about her food. And she wasn't the kind of person, this was back in probably the 30s, 40s, 50s. She was not someone who was sent to school, given an education so she could go out and work and earn a living. It was a very conservative, traditional environment where she was married off. She was a homemaker, took care of her children, and made sure there was hot food on the table. But whatever she did with so much love and so much passion that even today, her children remember her for it. Our family friends remember her for it. And then the community also remembers her for it. So what I've taken away from this is no matter what I choose to do with my life, there's absolutely no substitute for passion or love. And whatever work I choose to do, I need to do it with love, right? Whoever I choose to be with, I need to be with them with love. What that means is I want to give my whole self. So that's my vulnerabilities, my scars, being transparent, my trauma, being open about all of that. It's not about getting attention or telling the world my story because I have nothing better to do. It's about sharing these parts of me that make me who I am to the people who actually care to listen. If I can make a difference in your life by telling you about some vulnerability, I'm going to do it. At the end of the day, it's our vulnerabilities that keep us connected as human beings. Once we develop that compassion, we actually choose to understand people for who they are, not just what we see them to be. So for me, it's about choosing love, loving myself and loving the people around me and loving the profession that I'm in. So just to kind of wrap it up, right? I know my grandma was imperfect. She was highly flawed, just like every other human being. Again, I didn't have a chance to meet her and to fully experience her being. But the stories that I've been told, I've taken away these lessons from those stories. These are the guiding posts that I've chosen, and that's really to be my values, to honor my truth, to embody wellness, to plan, and to choose love always. So I hope you got something out of this. My grandma is a huge presence in everybody's lives, especially our family members, but also in my life, even though I didn't meet her. But I hope you got something out of these lessons. If you did, please make sure to, like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment. If you have somebody like this in your life, please share. Tell me about it. Leave a comment. I want to know more. And if you want to learn more about what I do and how I can help you, check out my website. It's www.imperfectbodies.com. That's one word, Imperfect Bodies. And if you're looking for a free guide, which consists of 10 ways to feel unstuck and to be able to move on, check out the link in the description. I've included it in this description. I hope you have a really healthy and happy week where you're yourself and you're grateful for all the wonderful things that you have. Thank you for visiting and checking out the video, and I will catch you next week. Thanks so much.